Hey guys, welcome back. So today I brought home this 1400 watt all power generator. And this is a tiny little generator. It has a 98cc 3 horsepower engine. And I found this one on Craigslist. It was only $50. And according to the listing, the fuel in the tank is bad and the engine won't start. So before buying it, I only checked two things. First the tank. And I wanted to make sure it wasn't rusted out. And it's actually not bad. There's no rust that I could see. And the fuel, although it is old and smells a bit off, it's not terrible. And I don't see any rust on the bottom of the tank. So I don't think we have an issue there. And the engine has compression. So I think this will be an easy fix. At least that's my hope. So let me get set up a little bit better. I want to check the oil real quick and then just try starting it as is, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, not too bad. There's plenty of oil. Might be a little bit closer on the low side, but it is nice and clean, and I think it's fine for testing. We get nothing. I'm just going to try a bit of starting fluid, see if it'll start. I plugged in the light and turned it on. I just want to see that not only does the engine run, but does that generator head work. Beautiful. So we just need to fix the fuel and we should be good. Before I pull the carb off, I am going to crack the drain and just see what's in that carburetor. I just shut the fuel off. So this tells me a lot, actually. It tells me that the fuel valve works, there's no obstructions, and the needle and seat works. So the fact that this isn't running, it's either due to water or most likely a clogged jet. Doesn't look that bad. There's no water in there, minimal debris. So I think we just have a clogged jet. So let's get that carb off and take a look. Yuck. It's not too good, but it should clean up. That's just a lot of varnish. And that jet, the main jet, is plugged solid. So a little bit of time in the ultrasonic, it should clean this right up. This is the pilot jet on top. And the main jet. The emulsion tube on this one, I'm not sure it's removable. There's really no place to, there's no slot to get a screwdriver in there. So potentially it's just a push fit. Let's see if I can get it to move, but I don't want to force it. And this, I don't know if that's normal. Oh yeah, that's fine. No, don't want to force it. The main jet is definitely a problem. The emulsion tube, I don't know if it's a problem, but if I keep pushing it, it's going to be. So I'm going to spray this out a bit with some carb cleaner and spray up through the emulsion tube. Then we'll let this soak. Just using this drill bit set, not to drill the jet out, but to scrape all the junk out. So just trying to find the largest bit or the last one that fits and use that to clean the jet. So seems to be a number 70. That should be good. And then the pilot jet, it's probably going to be one of these small ones over here. And that was a 79. It's coming along pretty well. It is going to need a little bit more time, so I'll run that through maybe 2 more times. And while doing that, I'm going to get that fuel out of the tank. Thankfully, there wasn't too much in there. This tank is only about 1.5 gallons, and I'd say about half that came out. So as bad as this fuel is, there is no water in it. It goes through the filter just fine. So this should be okay to burn in the car as long as it's mixed with a bunch of fresh stuff. Yeah, cleaned up pretty well. So let's get this back together. This is the idle set screw. This generator doesn't idle, so it's really not needed. Just make sure you don't drive it in so far that it actually influences the position of the throttle plate, or even worse, if you drive it all the way in, it's going to hold the plate open quite a bit, and the generator might over rev without a load. That should do it. I hate it when manufacturers do that. A lot of times they put the engine just too close to the frame. Anyway, I got it off somehow, so hopefully I can get it back on without breaking it. Okay, good. It started right up and the engine speed was fairly steady. So I think we're all set as far as the carb goes. I'm just going to top off that oil, just clean some of the dust off, and then I want to bring it outside, let it warm up a bit, and push this right to the limit, see if it can deliver the 1400 watts as advertised. I'm not sure what happened. Things were running pretty well, and then it started surging, and even choking it didn't seem to matter. So potentially a piece of junk got in the carb. Not really sure, but I'm going to drain the bowl, just try starting it again. Plenty of fuel in that bowl, and it looks fairly clean. I do see a little bit of debris down there, but not much at all. Anyway, I turn the fuel back on. I'm going to start it one more time, just make sure there's no change. Unfortunately, there's no change. It's still surging, so I'm going to pause it here, just go through that carb again, and resume in a second. Cleaning that carb a second time made no difference. The engine started pretty easily. It sounded good at first, but then started surging without a load, and nothing would really get it to stop except applying a bit of choke or a 750 watt load. So the pilot jet, the pilot circuit is definitely an issue. Now I could pull the carb off, try to drill it out, and that might improve things, but there's another issue with the carb. There is an adjustment screw on the side, and when taking the carburetor apart, I tried getting that screw to turn, and unfortunately it broke off. You can just see it right there. So even cleaning this again or drilling out the pilot jet, it's still going to have a restriction because I can't make that fine adjustment. So I already took a look on Amazon. These carbs are about $14. So I'm going to go ahead and order one of those, and we'll try this again. The new carb's been ordered. It's going to take a couple weeks to get here. So I haven't completely given up yet on this carb. I obviously took it apart again. Nothing too obvious, but this pilot jet, when going through it with the micro drill bits, it did feel like there was a decent amount of plaque buildup kind of along the walls. So I've scraped all that off. That is definitely cleaner at this point. Next, I'm going to try to free up this jet here. I'm just going to get the Dremel out, try cutting a slot there, something that I can get a screwdriver on, and potentially use that to break that free. Nope, it just broke off the side. So there's not too much hope for that. I'm just going to use some vice grips and hope for the best. Although the tip of the jet survived, the rest of it not in very good shape. And this carb, it's not one you can really buy parts for, so I don't think it makes sense to even try. But with that said, this is a Honda clone, and I do have a couple Honda carbs. This one here is from an EU 2000, and this jet here may potentially fit. I also have, I think, a carb from an EX 1000, a Honda EX 1000. So let me find that. We'll take a look at those jets and see if either one will fit. Actually, this one is for the EU 2000 or the EU 1000, but this jet is not removable. So this one, that was from the EX 1000. So let's give this jet a try. And the EX 1000 is a very similar sized engine, so potentially this will work. They are a bit different. Well, let's see. Yeah, that might work. You can just see the tip of the needle poking out right there. So I'd say there's a chance still with this carb. And to give it the best chance possible, I pulled my new ultrasonic out. This one I actually got a few months ago. It's been sitting on a shelf because my old one, the one I've been using for years, is sounding a little sick, and I don't think it's going to last much longer. So besides being twice the size, it's also 3 times more powerful. It has 3 transducers in it, so that hopefully will make the difference on this carb. So what do you think? 3rd time's a charm? I'm not so sure, but I've got the carb bolted back on. No airbox this time. Let's get it started and see if there's any change. It's even worse. Let's try it again. Okay, well, progress. Definitely progress, but I had to turn that jet out quite a bit. I started at 1 turn out. I'm now at least 4 or 5 turns out. It's kind of hard to tell. And in fact, it's so far out that the jet is loose and the spring isn't even making contact anymore with that jet. So it's just kind of spinning in the body of the carburetor. So that's really not usable like that. So I'm just going to wait, turn you back on in a second with the new carb installed. New carb's installed. The old one has been pulled off. So I've set that pilot jet at 1 turn out. Let's get it started and see if there's a new result. that was a little disappointing. 750 watts, this engine fell on its face 3 times in a row. So either the engine is down on power or the load is just too much at once and it can't react fast enough. So I'm not sure which it is. So I'm going to break out the variac. We'll bring up the voltage slowly and see how high we can get the wattage before things start to buckle. This one's fighting me. It cannot support a 750 watt load unless I give it some choke, and then it can do it without issue. When running on the variac, I was able to get it to 1200 watts, close to 1300 watts before things would start to buckle and go to surge. But even when bringing the variac voltage up, bringing the wattage up, I noticed the engine was surging again between 0 and 500 watts. So it was running lean, kind of on the light load side of things. And that might explain why it's stalling when I go from 0 to 750. I think it's relying a lot on that pilot circuit, and it's just too lean. Right now I have that screw turned out 3 full turns, and that's too much. So that jet, I think it needs to be drilled out. So I'm going to remove the jet, bring it inside, open it up a bit, and put it back. Looks like we're through. So let's give this a try. Drilling out the pilot jet made no noticeable difference, so I'm going to pause it here, pull the main jet, drill that out, and try it again. Finally, I get 1400 watts out of this generator. I didn't think I was going to get there. These little generators tend to overpromise and under-delivering, and this one was definitely under-delivering. And I wasn't sure if it was the carb, the fact that it was, had old fuel in it, and maybe I wasn't cleaning it out well enough. But even the new carb was struggling. I had to drill both the jets out. I will leave the drill bit sizes in the description in case you need to do the same. And now that that's done, it's running pretty well. I wouldn't say perfect. It's still oscillating a bit under load, but it does work itself out. And the engine speed is high, but these little generators, usually they are set from the factory at about 63.5 hertz. So I think I'm going to leave good enough alone. Now, the interesting thing is, a few weeks back, I did get an email from a subscriber. He has a Sportsman Gen 2000. It's essentially this generator, just rebranded. And he was having similar issues. His was surging without a load, except his carburetor did not have that needle. So he ended up buying a new carb with the needle, and he was able to sort that issue out. But under load, he can only pull about 900 watts before the engine starts struggling. And even with the new carb, there was really no change. And he dug a little bit further and actually noticed on his generator, he had a circuit breaker rated at 8.5 amps, which is 1,000 watts. So it would seem like the manufacturer knew that it couldn't do 1400 based on that circuit breaker. Anyway, this one, it doesn't say what this circuit breaker is rated at. So I went to All Power's site, and they say on their site that this can do 20 amps, which is not true. This can only do 11.6 amps. I think what they meant to say was it had a 20 amp outlet. Why, I don't know, because it cannot put out 20 amps. Anyway, this is now a good running generator, and this, I would say, is done, aside from the air box, but you've already seen how that's installed. I'm not going to torture you by showing you that again. So I hope this video helps someone. Thanks for watching.